Wondering how you can become better at running your business? Entrepreneurship can be stressful. There's too much to do and not enough time. If you're isolated in your daily decisions, have no fear. Success and balance are possible. Welcome to the Small Business Answer Man podcast, where you master the art of running a successful business using practical advice from experts who want to help you succeed. Now, here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
Welcome. We're glad to have you again this week. It's still early in 2024, and I told you my goal this quarter was to get guests on that's going to make an impact for your business for the rest of 2024. So I've really lined up different guests in different areas, and you all know I love talking about the 6P business owner formula. That's my philosophy. Those 6Ps are people, productivity, pricing, promotion, process, and profits. And today, I think we're going to talk a lot about the people side of the business because my guest has that expertise. But JoDee, would you share with our listeners, what problem will you help them solve today?
I want to help them solve getting past the fear of networking.
That is going to be good because networking what drives business, doesn't it, JoDee?
Right.
Well, JoDee Curtis is with us today, and JoDee is a CSP and a SHRM SCP. She owns Purple Inc. It's an HR consulting firm serving clients throughout the Midwest. JoDee has written 5 books in the Joy Powered series. Her most recent one, an Amazon #1 bestseller, is Joy Powered Networking. In addition to running her firm for the past 14 years, she is a speaker and trainer on many leadership and HR topics. JoDee, it is great to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gary.
Well, we got to do a trip together. You know, not a lot of people can do this, and that's how we actually got introduced and met each other on a trip to actually Jerusalem before everything in Israel that was going on. So it was so great to meet you there. And as we got talking about similarities, I got to get JoDee on the podcast. So I'm so glad that you said yes to it. And I'm just excited to have this conversation about networking and really about HR because the world is changing in the area of people right now. Would you not agree?
Totally, right? We're working differently. We're balancing our work and our life differently now. It's a whole new ball game, really.
Yeah, and that's it for business owners. I will tell you, I work with a lot of small business owners. That's why it's the Small Business Answer Man podcast. Is sometimes they have a hard time adjusting and changing. And what I want you to think about, if you're on the other end of the line, you're the listener today listening, what changes do I need to make in some of this area of people and networking in 2024 that's really going to make a difference in my business? And I know JoDee's going to give us some great feedback and some great information to share there. But let's start out here, JoDee, if you don't mind, is really, you talk about Joy Powered. You written 5 books in this area, and I've got to read your Joy Powered Networking, and we're definitely going to talk about that some. But what does Joy Powered mean to you, and what are you trying to tell us there?
Yeah. Well, interesting that you said the words, what does it mean to me? Because that's exactly what I want people to take when they read any of my books. Is what brings me joy is not necessarily what brings you joy or someone else on our team, right? We all find joy in different things. And we can't share our joy with other people. I do think we can create environments, or we can create culture, a culture where people thrive and they succeed and they look forward to going to work every day. But just because I found joy, I can't say, Gary, here's some extra joy today for you to take on. You know, there's the big difference between being happy at work and finding joy at work. I think being happy at work is when the owner gives you free pizza on Fridays, right? That makes me happy in the moment. But then I might be like, okay, where's the free ice cream for dessert, right? I'm ready for the next thing. Or I'm just happy in the moment. and not long term. But finding joy is about having a longer term internal feeling of this is what I find joy in doing. This is a place I want to be. And one of my key questions I always ask people about it is, do you look forward to going to work?
Hmm.
And we all have our moments. We all have some bad days in there. So it might not be 100%, but are you answering yes to that question on a very regular basis?
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to take that two different ways here. Is one, for the business owner that's listening right now, do you really enjoy going to work yourself? Or has it
Yeah.
become a drain, a stress, an overwhelm? And it's like, how are we going to do it again? Answering that for yourself. And then it would be really good for business owners. How many of your people, how would they respond to that? Because I'm sure you've done enough and you've seen the engagement surveys. And I'm sure what happens if people enjoy going to work, engagement goes way up. And share from me if you, and I know some of them numbers too, but for what you've seen in the marketplace, when people enjoy going to work, what happens, that engagement level, and what's going to happen for the business, do you feel, if they are enjoying their work?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. When people find joy in their work, they're more likely to be engaged. And the Gallup organization has all kinds of statistics around engagement and how it also leads to more productivity. It leads to better relationships. It can lead to more sales for salespeople who are enjoying the process of what they're doing. So it just leads to so many things. Sometimes I think when people hear that word joy powered, they think, ah, that sounds a little fluffy, you know.
You're right.
But it really is true that it can lead to all of those other things.
Well, it really stops one thing. It stops people leaving you.
Right,
Because the thing is, today they have choices. And I've been sharing with
right,
business owners, some people don't know the numbers. They keep thinking everybody's just lazy and doesn't want to work. There's less people in the marketplace. We need 2.1 statistical average to replace what's leaving the marketplace, because people like you and I that are boomers and Xers and stuff, we're leaving the marketplace because we've put ourselves in those financial positions. Doesn't mean they won't work at all, those people, but they
right.
may not stay at that full-time job that they had before. So there's less of them there. So millennials and Generation Z that are in the marketplace now, there's less of them than there were of Xers and boomers. And business owners are not getting that. They're not realizing that part of it is not this, they don't want to work. There's always a section that has that capability, but that
Right,
we've had that in our generation.
right.
That's there. But the thing is you've got to make that difference, and they're searching that out. The younger generation is not going to stay with an organization that it's a grind and, the work, not the work sucks, but the environment, the culture that you talked about, they're not going to stay on to a company there. And what have you seen with companies there that really has made a difference to really improve the workplace?
Yeah, well, I think there not only are less millennials and Gen Xers out there, but those two groups especially are demanding to find a passion or a purpose in their work. Not that it, isn't important to a lot of us, but really the traditionalists and a little bit of the baby boomers, they went to work for a paycheck, right? They were working to get paid, not to find passion or a purpose specifically. So we have to address that. And, we went through that phase in the 90s and early 2000s, probably even more early 2000s, where companies were adding foosball tables and ping pong tables and free snacks and free lunch. And I'm not suggesting that all of that is bad, right? It's okay to have a fun environment like that. but that's happiness. That's making them happy in the moment. And it's not creating that long lasting joy for them. So
Yeah.
that's what'll keep them.
Yeah, I agree totally, because so many people think I talk about positive culture, and positive culture, it's not some soft thing, it's how they feel. Because if you create loyalty, really it comes down to loyalty. If you create
Right.
loyalty, they're going to stick with you thick and thin, even when things are tough.
Right.
Because they're why they feel part of the organization, versus the other side of it. I'm just a number. I'm just a, that's why people are leaving corporate America a lot right now. Let's be honest, because they want to
Right.
have that passion, that purpose that they're doing. What are some of the things we're going to get into the networking side too? But I want to ask you one more side, because with your HR background, because I'm hearing this same thing, and I'm sure you do too. And again, I work with smaller organizations that, they just can't find people to fill their positions on that side of it. How can they create that they are more attractive to the employees or to the potential candidates that they have out there? What would be some suggestions you would give there?
Yeah, so a couple things. And once again, it's interesting that you use that word attracting, because I think that's something that companies don't think about. They think, I'll post an ad or I'll tell some people and then people will apply, or what, we've called posting and praying. You're
Yeah.
posting it and praying someone will respond to you. But thinking about even before you post an ad, what are you doing to attract people to your organization by having a great culture, by offering good benefits, by having a website that shows a day in the life or has some people talking about why they like to work there. The flexibility, of course, is a huge one too, that people can work at least hybrid or have flexible hours, whatever that might mean in their industry. So think about attraction before you ever even get to recruiting. And then the second thing is to create a positive candidate experience. One of the first things we tell our clients is to go online and complete an application for their own company.
Mm.
See how long it takes them, see what obstacles they find. Are you asking them to upload their resume, and then you ask them all the questions about everything that's on their resume that you've just uploaded? So make it simple, make it short, make it easy to use, communicate throughout the process so that, we talked a lot about a year ago about employees or candidates ghosting companies, right? They just wouldn't show up on the first day, or they wouldn't show up the day of the interview. Well, I think companies are ghosting candidates all the time, right? They don't get back with them to let them know that they didn't get the job, or that they were super impressed and they're interested in them for another role, right? They just let them die off, which is so frustrating for candidates. So go through that process yourself and see how it feels
Well,
to
you
do
hit
that.
one of my pet peeves. You probably saw me shaking my head there and stuff. And my pet peeve is the communication in the process.
Yeah.
Because I think when we're talking like online job boards and stuff,
Yeah.
employers are creating what they're getting. And what
Right.
I mean by that is we're not responding to them. If we're not interested in them, we don't even send them back anything. There's
Right.
templates in there, folks. Every job board I've been to, there's templates. You put a template. Thank you for sending your application in. You do not meet the requirements, so we're not going to interview you. You can put better words to it, but put a template to it, and then you send them a response back. I don't care if it's 100 that you get in a day, and you don't
Right.
want 99 of them. You send all 99 that response template, and the one you want to interview, they get a different template that says, yes, let's set up an interview. And then you make it easy, like you talked about. Do you have a calendar link there? Can they just get put it online and link up and say exactly what they need to do? So you hit
Right.
on one. When I talk to my employers, I said, you're getting exactly what you're giving,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we don't do that. And that's sad because the online job boards are really beneficial and people
Right.
are looking that way to get it, and they're going to in the
Right.
future, but we've got to
Right.
train them to do it the right way. So
Right.
sorry about that, to my little soapbox, but
No, I'm with you 100%. We still have clients who will say, we'll ask, like, did you give the candidate your address and which door to go in and where to park and what to wear? And they'll say, well, I had to figure that out myself when I got a job here. So they should have to figure it out too. And they're missing what you missed earlier, that they have options. They don't have to figure out that process, right? So make it easy for them.
yeah. And we could go a long ways here, because that first day, then that first 30 days, that first 90
Right.
days, that first
Right.
year, how
Right.
onboarding has changed what it was before. I have
Right.
a son, I think you and I even talked about it, started a new position and stuff. And those first 90 days are critical because they're running through
Yes.
their head, did I make the right choice or not? And you as an
Right.
organization better be putting into them as much as they're putting into you. Otherwise, most likely they're going to be already searching online again for the next position.
Right. Right. Right.
Well, let's talk about your book, because I got to read it. You sent me a copy of it and stuff, and Joy Powered Networking. Now, you're an HR consultant. So, not everyone would say a networking book for an HR consultant would be the right piece there. So share with me what brought you about deciding to write a book about networking.
Yeah. Well, a couple things really. One of my team members is a master networker. I mean, I think I'm pretty good myself, but she's a master, and we met through networking. Interestingly, we met on a kickball field as we were on a kickball team at our kids' high school together. And so networking can mean anything, right? As we met going on a trip, and my co-author, we met playing kickball. But also we were talking to so many people, like so many candidates who are looking for a job that will do initial interviews, at least for our clients, will tell us, they'll say, I'm looking for a new role and I don't know how to put myself out there, right? Or how to find opportunities. And we always talk about their network and going to their network. And that can be people at church or their neighbors or their kids' parents, right? So many different groups again. And yet they think of themselves as not having any network at all. So we encourage people constantly to keep up with a network or several different networks that are out there. We also sometimes we're thinking about, or people will ask us, I'm looking for a new opportunity within my own company, or I want to get promoted within my company. How do I do that? Well, again, we think it's super important to network in your own organization, right? Get to know the people that you work with and what is their role in the company and what opportunities might their team have, or how did they start with the company and get to where they are in their role as well too. So it can mean internally or externally that it's important.
Yeah, I just love how you put it together, because you use some real life stories. So I'm able to get into that. Plus your chapters are, concise, is the word,
Yeah.
kind of story sets it up, that type of thing. And then I love that you give the key takeaways. And like I said, I did read the book on that part of it, and I enjoyed all of it, but I had to bring this one up. On chapter 9, you talked about adding value. And it kind of goes what we talked about a little bit earlier. Didn't know that before, but I want to share this because on your key takeaways, at the end of the chapter, you give key takeaways. And I love what you say here is seek first to give, and getting will follow. And then the second one is we all have value to give others, even if it's simply listening. And then the third one, value can be given and received over time. Just share
Those are
with me.
good.
Yeah, that was good information. So share with me your thought process there, because to me, it says something to me, because so many people think they have to get first, but really
Right.
networking is just the opposite. Well, that's what I got
Right.
out of the book, and I know myself that I've used.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the one about listening really
Mm.
can just be so simple. Although in today's world, we don't always do it well, right? We're talking to someone and we're looking around the room, or we're checking our text messages in the middle of a conversation. So just being present for someone else, and listening to what they have to say, but then thinking about how might I help this person? How might I introduce them to someone I know that might result in some business or an opportunity, or even maybe it's something related to a hobby or a gym that you go to that they might be interested in. Really, it doesn't always have to be. I think there's a sense of pressure at networking events that people think, if they're even thinking about giving versus getting, that they're thinking, oh, I'll have to give them a referral, or I'll have to introduce them to someone else. Maybe it's just about helping them think through an idea. Or the best way to network, I think, is to ask people questions. Most of us like to talk about ourselves, right? So that can be a simple way to break the ice or start the conversation with someone, is ask them about their work or their hobbies or their day.
Yeah, I think that's so crucial. And, if you've got to make notes, you make notes after you've met with that person, but you have those antennas up.
Right.
I still do that with previous clients that I know certain things. I know one just this week, I sent him a podcast because there was a podcast I heard. It wasn't mine, but it was a great podcast. And it was talking about finances and how needed to work through those. And that was always a struggle in his business. Currently, he's not a client. But I sent him a quick little text, shared that podcast, and says, hey, I think you'll really enjoy this. Some great information about finances that you would enjoy. But it's
Yeah,
showing
that's
that they're still
excellent.
there. What does they
Right.
do? What does he do? He's
Right.
referred me to multiple people because of that
Yeah.
business. He's given me other business for training and doing other things, because why? He's on top of my radar. And it's not, I don't send him that podcast so he'll send me business back. But what does I do? By me doing that, I'm on top of his radar now, and he's going to
Right.
try to reciprocate it. It's the law of attraction that's there. So
Yeah.
just some great takeaways, and just so practical. That's the other thing. I love books that are practical versus, you can get into some books and you get lost in them. It's what I would term it's an easy read, because
Right.
it's not 10,000 pages or 300 pages,
Right.
but it gives you the information you need and makes you think about how do you want to expand that network. And really, any age. That's the one thing, JoDee, I was really surprised with. I feel like I'm experienced in business a little bit because I'm an old guy, but even my younger sons that are in their 20s now, they could take this and really get very practical information. So
Right.
congratulations on the book.
Thank you. One other thing about networking, Gary, is that so many people think of networking as going to like a Chamber of Commerce meeting
Yeah.
or some type of event that is truly established just for networking. And we like to emphasize to people that most people don't like those types of events, right? I just went to one last night. That was a chamber event, but I went for a dual purpose, not just to network, but because the speaker was one of our clients and is a fabulous speaker, and I wanted to learn from her at the same time. But I spoke to a group this morning, and I asked them how what was the top three ways that they got new business. They were all entrepreneurs, and people said referrals or just good work with their clients or being present. Their name was in front of them a lot through marketing or social media. And after going through many of those different answers, I said, not one of you said you got a lot of business from a large networking event, right? So that doesn't have to be the way to grow your business. It can be about one-on-one conversations, right? Or small groups, or sitting at the soccer field during your kid's game and talking to other parents, or in church activities. I mean, I certainly don't go to church so that I can get business referrals, but I've met a lot of people at church who have hired me because we volunteered together or something like that. So don't always think of it as, oh, I have to go to a big event. Now we can even network virtually, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, so many different ways, and that becomes the key and always the challenge when I get a great conversation going. I always don't want to get them too long because I know people are busy, but there's so much in this HR area and in this networking area. The thing I would tell you is pick up the book. It's Joy Powered Networking. I think you're going to give us a little bit of a special to the listeners if they want to pick up the book. Your website is Purple Ink. LLC.com. We'll have that on show notes. And if they wanted to get the book, JoDee, how would they go about doing that?
yes, so they can go to the Purple Ink website, and then at the top there's a button called Joy Powered, and click on that, and then go to shop. And all of our books are out there, but if you purchase one, in the coupon section, type in the word answer, because it's for the Answer Man listeners, right? And that'll give you 20% off the book. All of the books are also available on Amazon, but they're actually less expensive on our website. And then you also have the promo code for that as well.
Yeah. They have some great information on the website too. I've looked at that earlier. So make sure you check that out. That'll all be in show notes, but it's purpleinkllc.com. We'll have it in show notes. And basically that link, we'll have the coupon code noted in there of answer. So you don't have to remember it. If you're driving right now, or if you're running right now, don't worry. We've got it all in show notes. You can get it right from your phone, or you can go online at smallbusinessanswerman.biz and we'll have all the information there. JoDee, I just thank you so much for joining us today, sharing your expertise with our listeners. And really, my goal was to really talk to our business owners. Let's think differently in 2024. Instead of what a struggle it is to get people, what am I doing in my business different to be able to attract, as we talked about, those listeners or those people that we want to have come work for us? And would they say the culture is a culture, a joy-powered culture that they want to come to and be part of? And that makes a big difference today, and no matter what segment that you're looking to hire. So I think that becomes so important. JoDee, I appreciate you joining me, and I'm looking here, you're on LinkedIn, so we'll have all that in show notes too that's available to you. I do have one more question. I almost forgot. I ask every guest this question, so I shouldn't forget, but I almost did. My question to you is, what's your best advice you would give the business owners?
Yes, so I think you won't be surprised. It's looking for the joy in their work. So many business owners, as I did when I first started, tried to do everything myself. So figure out what you do best and do more of that, and do less of what it is that is frustrating for you, which might be the accounting or the data collection or social media or whatever that is.
I love that. And that goes back to one of mine was going to share as an action. Do you look forward to going to work every day? And if you're the owner and you're saying no, guess who makes the decisions? Okay.
Right.
So get to work. That's what we're going to tell you. Check out purpleinkllc.com. Check out the book, Joy Powered Networking. Thank you, JoDee, for joining us today.
Thank you, Gary.
Everybody, we're glad to have you. I really enjoyed this conversation. And this is one of those conversations. I know you know somebody that needs to hear this message. So do me a favor, go to those 3 little dots on your phone right now that you're listening to and share this podcast with another business owner that you know that it would make a difference to. It allows us to keep growing our podcast, but really it makes a difference for them. And it might be the network that you need to be able to get some business from that person, or maybe they'll share something back with you that becomes very valuable in the future to you. Thanks again for joining us. Make it a great day. We'll see you soon.
That's all the time we have for this week. To continue your journey, head over to smallbusinessanswerman.biz to access the tools and resources mentioned in today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with someone who would benefit from listening. That's smallbusinessanswerman.biz. Until next time, remember, when you find the right solutions, your business grows and you get your time back.